Hello students, welcome to class 7 for the new academic session 2020-21. I am Mr. Alvin Simon and I will be teaching you history. I will begin with chapter 1, the medieval period. Medieval period refers to the time period between the ancient and the modern period, the medieval period. The word medieval is derived from two Latin words, medius and aevum, which means Middle Ages. The Indian medieval period is divided into early medieval period and late medieval period. The early medieval period stretches from 700 AD to 1200 AD, and the late medieval period from 1200 AD to 1750 AD. But in this chapter, I will be stressing upon the European medieval period, which stretches from 600 AD to 1500 AD. During this medieval period, many powerful social, political, economic, and religious changes took place all over the world. In the beginning of the medieval period, Europe went through dark ages. And this dark ages was due to the decline of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire decline was caused by the deposition of the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, in 476 AD. This led to the weakening power of the king, and a new social system developed, which was called feudalism. This new system, feudalism, was based on the power of the land. So, those who owed land were called feudal lords. And these feudal lords gave their lands to their vassals, who in turn rendered military service. Peasants worked on this land. And they greatly suffered under these feudal lords. They led a miserable life under the feudal lords. The other reason why the early medieval period was called the Dark Age was because the spirit of inquiry and rationalism was not encouraged. Which means that people did not reason, did not use logic, did not understand, and therefore it was called the Dark Ages. So the Dark Ages, because of the decline of the Roman Empire, the end of the rule of the kings, which led to a new social system called feudalism, and secondly, it was called the Dark Ages because the spirit of inquiry and rationalism was not encouraged. This age, medieval age, was also called the age of faith. This was because during this period, the Catholic Church had a great influence over the European society. So, the two features of the early medieval period were the Dark Ages and the Age of Faith. So, I have told you why it was called the Dark Age and why this early medieval period is also called the Age of Faith. Now, in the late medieval period, wars were fought. Between whom? Between the Muslims and Christians. For around 200 years. These wars were called holy wars. And These holy wars were called crusades. These holy wars were called crusades because they were fought between the Muslims and Christians for around 200 years. Towards the end of the medieval period, a new movement started. And this new movement was called the Renaissance. Now, this new movement, the Renaissance, means the age of new spirit, new enthusiasm, of adventure and learning. You remember in the early medieval period, I told you that the spirit of inquiry and rationalism was not encouraged. But in the late medieval period, a new movement started, the Renaissance, the age of new spirit of adventure and learning. During this period, we see great changes that took place all over the world. We've seen that the European countries, with the spirit of adventure, they conducted many sea expeditions. They sent out people on voyages. They encourage people to go on voyages and to explore new lands. So we have seen a lot of discoveries of new continents, new lands, new islands, all took place because the European country, because of the Renaissance, the people developed a new spirit of adventure and they wanted to discover and find new things, learn new things. And it is during this period that we see a lot of inventions took place. And with the discovery of new places and continents and countries, a new important activity started, and this activity was the trading activity. These European countries began to take active part in trading activities. They went out to various continents, to various countries. They began trade, especially with Eastern countries. And a This trading activities played a great role in the economic, cultural advancement of Europeans during the time of Renaissance.